welcome you to this Bible study of the Banking Blessings Ministry. My name is Goodluck Afebu, and this is my wife.
Obi Afebu.
We welcome you to our continuing study on husband-wife interactions, and today we are going to look at Hannah and Elkanah. Yes, we've looked at this couple before, but today we're going to focus on their interactions and see what we can learn from their relationship, from their interactions, to help us understand what they did that worked for them, and if there is anything they did that didn't work, to identify it so that we can learn from it. Elkanah, as we know, married two wives, Hannah and Peninnah. And what we find is that he set up a family structure that gave each woman a large measure of autonomy over her side of the family. Each woman really managed her side of the family, and of course Elkanah was the top manager of the family. And we'll see that this worked out very well for the relationship between him and Hannah. We are not interested in Peninnah. There isn't much information about her, but our focus tonight is on Hannah and Elkanah. And as I said, what we'll see is that Elkanah, yes, was the leader of the family, was everything they did, he took care of. And we're going to see that. But at the same time, each of the two women were empowered to take care of the affairs of her sub-family. The Elkanah family consisted of two sub-families, the family, the Peninnah and her children, and Hannah. At the time of this story, the beginning of this account, Hannah didn't have a child, but still, even that was part of what she had to manage. And of course, Elkanah took care of everything, things that concern everybody. And we find that this was of benefit to them, because when Hannah had a need to interact with God on her childlessness, she sought God. She decided to seek God boldly. She didn't have to worry about looking for anybody to go to God with her. She went to God by herself. Of course, we will discuss that more. But this she did, knowing that already she and her husband had a good agreement, that they worked together well, and that whatever she could do things without bothering about what her husband wanted about it. But we'll see that their relationship was based on that trust, that one, they loved each other, and they in making decisions they took care of. They didn't just think of personal interest, they thought about each other, they thought about the family as a whole, how what they were doing affected each other. So there was that trust that that whatever decision she made would be supported by her husband, and so she could go to God boldly by herself and make talk to God, make promises, and secure, pray for blessings, and knowing that her husband will support her. And this was really key in their relationship. And we'll find that they were blessed abundantly. And the structure of their relationship, of their interaction, was very important in facilitating things for them, and the result is that they were blessed abundantly. Our information will come from 1 Samuel chapters 1 and 2, mostly from chapter 1 with a few things from chapter 2. Honey, do you have an opening statement before we continue? Okay, well, you can always jump in at any time. So start with looking at the marriage of Elkanah and Hannah. Elkanah, we know, married 2 wives. Peninnah had children. Hannah, at the beginning of these interactions, didn't have a child. For many years after her marriage, she didn't have a child. We see that Elkanah was the leader of the family in everything, the leader of family affairs. We can see this from, he was the person that, the way the Bible described their worship, for instance, was that he went to Shiloh every year and his family went. So the trip to the house of God in Shiloh was his responsibility. He was in charge of it. Of course, his family went with him, but he was the person that planned it. And then when they got there, it was him that distributed the things they needed for worship to members of the family, the way he understood his family structure. We'll read about this, he will give certain portions of meat to Peninnah and her children, and then give a double portion to Hannah to accommodate the fact that she didn't have a child, but she needed a little more. And but he left each woman in charge of her the sub family on that. For Peninnah, of course, it was her and her children, and she had a few of them. Hannah didn't have a child, but had this weight of childlessness. So for her, it was her and her childlessness, managing this. And of course, the interactions between Hannah and Peninnah was not friendly most of the time, because Peninnah would taunt her and try to make fun of her, make her unhappy. Her husband didn't really step into this. There is no account that he stepped in to stop it or to help manage it, except that he would try to comfort Hannah. He would try to make Hannah accept her childlessness and try to rely on him for the things that he would have relied on children to do for her. And let us read about this, 1 Samuel chapter 1, verses 1 through 8.
First Samuel chapter 1, reading from the New International Version. Verse 1. There was a certain man from Ramathaim, a Zuphite, from the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah. He had 2 wives. One was called Hannah, and the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. Verse 3. Year after year, this man went up from his town to worship and sacrifice to the Lord Almighty at Shiloh, where Hophni and Phinehas, the 2 sons of Eli, were priests of the Lord. Verse 4. Whenever the day came for Elkanah to sacrifice, he would give portions of the meat to his wife Peninnah and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he gave a double portion, because he loved her, and the Lord had closed her womb. Verse 6. Because the Lord had closed Hannah's womb, her rival kept provoking her in order to irritate her. This went on year after year. Whenever Hannah went up to the house of the Lord, her rival provoked her till she wept and would not eat. Her husband Elkanah would say to her, Hannah, why are you weeping? Why don't you eat? Why are you downhearted? Don't I mean more to you than 10 sons? Hannah knew she could.
This is okay. So that finished the reading. What we see there, Elkanah loved his wife Hannah and tried to comfort her the way he understood. Didn't really want her to worry about not having children. Didn't want her to let that wear on her mind, and tried to substitute himself in whichever way he could, substitute himself for children. Then we've already talked about the structure of the family in which he was in charge, no doubt, but each woman was in charge of her sub-family. And this worked out well for them. Well, one consequence of this is that Hannah knew that she could do things, and her husband will support what she did. So she didn't have any fear of what her husband might do, whether he would say yes or say no, because over the years they make decisions based on love for each other, caring for each other, trust for each other, so that their decisions, they know that when they make decisions, they relied on that strong bond between them to make decisions that covered both of them. And even when Elkanah didn't understand something initially, he didn't, he would still go along with it. Of course, we don't have several examples of this, but a very good example was when Hannah felt like she needed to go to God. She didn't talk to anybody about it. They were in Shiloh worshiping, and once she felt so bad, the others were eating and drinking and making, were very happy, but she wasn't. She was very bitter, and in that bitterness, she just got up, stepped aside, and started praying. And in this prayer, she made a vow to God, and that vow is that vow it's a good illustration of her being having a sense of independence, because if she didn't feel like if she said something that maybe her husband would not like it, or no, she said it the way it came out of her heart, and her husband, of course, went along with her. Can I borrow this? Mine had stepped ahead faster than I could. I can control it and I can't go back. Okay, so let's read about this interaction. It's in 1 Samuel chapter 1 verses 9 to 11.
1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 9. Once they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh, Hannah stood up. Now Eli the priest was sitting on his chair by the doorpost of the Lord's house. In her deep anguish, Hannah prayed to the Lord, weeping bitterly. Verse 11, and she made a vow, saying, Lord Almighty, if you will only look on your servant's misery and remember me, and not forget your servant, but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord for all the days of his life, and no razor will ever be used on his head.
So it's very important here, because here she made a vow to the Lord. She made a promise concerning the life of their child that she had prayed for. Now, the child is her child and the Elkanah's child, and if they didn't have this level of trust, this level of autonomy that she had, or the level of trust that she could make a decision, she could do things, and her husband would go along, she would not have made this kind of vow. So she was empowered. She felt empowered to make the vow because she knew that her husband would support her. And that is the type of life they've had. Well, other evidence of her empowerment is that, of course, we know from our previous study of this account in the Bible that yeah, she did get pregnant and gave birth to a boy, and she named the child based on the interaction that she had with God as child. She named him Samuel. Samuel means it's a Hebrew word that conveys the meaning of something that was something that God approved, kind of. I asked him of God and God gave it to me. Then she also made the decision to stay home and until the child is weaned. Her husband was going to Shiloh on one of his annual trips to Shiloh, and she told him and said, well, she's going to stay home and until this child is weaned. And her husband immediately said, yes, do what you know. He gave his full support, knowing that this is based on the promise that she made, and they are both happy that God granted them a child, and he supported his wife to follow through on the promise that she made. Of course, when it was time to go to Shiloh to go and present the boy to the church, to the house of God, she chose what they used for sacrifice. Of course, there was a custom about these things, but the account in the Bible said she took she looked for those things, she gathered the things they needed for sacrifice. We're just giving evidence that she was in fact in charge of that aspect of their life. She led the official handover of the child to Eli. She was there with her husband, they were together, but she made the little speech kind of that handed the boy, that explained what they were doing and handed the boy over to Eli. More important was the powerful prayer that she prayed. Not the prayer she prayed to ask for the child, but now the prayer she prayed to thank God for the child, to praise God for the child. And this prayer is reproduced in the Bible. We'll read only one verse of it because it's a long prayer, but we'll encourage our readers to look at it because there you can see that it's not praying is not just asking God for this and that, but when He does something, when you have experienced a change in your life that you want to thank God for, that you take time and really thank Him and show from your heart that you really appreciate what God has done for you. And this is what comes out in Hannah's prayer. And there, she did the prayer, not Elkanah. It was, again, showing that autonomy that worked so well for them. Let us read about this, 1 Samuel chapter 1, 20 to 28, and then chapter 2, verse 1 and verse 11.
First Samuel chapter 1 verse 20. So in the course of time, Hannah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, saying, because I asked the Lord for him. When her husband Elkanah went up with all his family to offer the annual sacrifice to the Lord and to fulfill his vow, Hannah did not go. She said to her husband, after the boy is weaned, I will take him and present him before the Lord, and he will live there always. Do what seems best to you, her husband Elkanah told her. Stay here until you have weaned him. Only may the Lord make good his word. So the woman stayed at home and nursed her son until she had weaned him. Verse 24. After he was weaned, she took the boy with her, young as he was, along with a 3-year-old bull, an ephah of flour, and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh. When the bull had been sacrificed, they brought the boy to Eli. Verse 26, and she said to him, "Pardon me, my lord. As surely as you live, I am the woman who stood here beside you praying to the Lord. I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him. So now I give him to the Lord. For his whole life he will be given over to the Lord." And he worshipped the Lord there. 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 1. Then Hannah prayed and said, "My heart rejoices in the Lord. In the Lord my horn is lifted high. My mouth boasts over my enemies, for I delight in your deliverance." Then Elkanah, verse 11, then Elkanah went home to Ramah, but the boy ministered before the Lord until under Eli the priest.
Yeah. So you see how it says here, Elkanah went home. So this was Elkanah's street. He managed that. He was in charge of it. The family came with him. But when it came to Hannah's sub-family, she managed everything. It was the same way with the other woman. But this arrangement worked out very well because it empowered Hannah to pray the prayer she prayed and to make the vow that she made. And of course, the result of that vow we've already seen. But we'll discuss now their blessings because part of this study is to look at the way a couple interacted and then some of the outcome of their life. And for Hannah and Elkanah, the outcome is that their son Samuel ministered to the Lord throughout his life and became a prophet at a very young age. This will be the dream of any Christian parent, that to have children that will become, that will visibly serve God and serve other human beings, serve God by serving other human beings. So they had a son that really did that. And the name of Samuel, of course, today is very well known, more than the name of the parents, but he was a blessing to the parents. And that blessing occurred I believe that their life, where they interacted as a couple, created room for the things that happened and for the blessings that followed it. And Hannah conceived several times over. It didn't stop there. At the beginning of these interactions, she was childless, but in fact she ended up with 3 sons and 2 daughters. So she was not really childless by any means, and she had, she was well fulfilled in terms of having children. She had just as many as any normal woman would have. And let us read about this. This is really a very short Bible study. We're coming to the end of it, but let's read about their blessings in 1 Samuel chapter 2, verses 18 to 21 and verse 26. Then only after that, you can jump in because the next slide will be the last one, I think.
Okay. 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 18. But Samuel was ministering before the Lord, a boy wearing a linen ephod. Each year his mother made him a little robe and took it to him when she went up with her husband to offer the annual sacrifice. Verse 20. Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife, saying, "May the Lord give you children by this woman to take the place of the one she prayed for and gave to the Lord." Then they would go home. And the Lord was gracious to Hannah. She gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel grew up in the presence of the Lord. And the boy Samuel continued, verse 26, and the boy Samuel continued to grow in stature and in favor with the Lord and with people.
He grew in favor with the Lord and the people. There was a similar statement made of Jesus. It's similar. Luke, I think chapter 3, verse 40 or something like that. I didn't bring it up. We don't have to read it, but it was similar statement. He grew up. That is, he grew up in the Lord. He had favor from God, and people saw him. People liked him. People believed in him as a child of God. So he had favor with the Lord and with people. That's the best thing that could be said of any person. Okay, well, let's hear what you have, because you've done this is just...
Well, we've, like you said, we've looked at this couple there in the past, but by way of looking at what they did in their times of adversity, and how they served God through it. And there's no doubt that their relationship, the husband-wife relationship, came into play there as well, as something that helped them during that period. But there are a few things I want to bring out here to buttress in terms of husband-wife interactions and relationship. And the first one is, we're looking at life applications. I've often said that the Bible, the events and stories we read in the Bible are for us to learn and apply to our real life situations, because this happened to real life people. We're not living in the times of Elkanah and Hannah, but even today we face the same things that they face. Just like when Jesus came to go through the things we'll be going through now. Okay, so if you look at that, barrenness in the first place, if you look at barrenness, it's something that, in fact, is increasingly, infertility is something that is increasingly occurring between couples these days. A lot of things, we hear of it more now than it used to be in the past. And there are so many things that can be attributed to that. The devil is always there trying to fight families, because he knows this is one formidable thing that if it's strong and they're in the Lord, they can, do a lot of exploits for the kingdom of God. So, in the case of these two people, in the face of what they were going through, we saw that their love remained strong. Their love remained strong. You say, how do I know? Elkanah said it. Whenever Hannah was crying, he would say, do I not mean more to you than 10 sons? He never taunted her. He never. And I believe that when a woman is going through the infertility, a period of barrenness, or a man, because it could be through the man or through the woman, that the other partner, when we know that we're in this thing together, you are there, your support. The primary thing is support. If you can give that support, you will notice that inadvertently, a woman can pray, oh God, my husband has been there for me. Bless me with a child even if it's for him. She'll be motivated more to have a child. In order to please. I've heard women pray, God, even if you're not looking at my faith, look at the faith of this man. Look at how he supports. Look at this. Can you do this because of him? Assuming there's a reason why you can't do it for me. So that support is very, very important. Elkanah supported his wife Hannah through that period. So it's something we should not ignore. These days, once a woman gets married, especially the part of the world that we come from, once a woman has a couple get married 1 year, by 9 months they're looking at your stomach to see whether, or by 3 months, 6 months, whether it's growing. By 9 months, nothing happens. By the second anniversary of they are beginning to ask people around you, what is going on, what is going on. So it's something that, nobody should abandon the other for. And I would say that despite the reasons that Elkanah has, and even Hannah, and I'll come to Hannah later, Elkanah, if in the days that they lived, if a woman could not give a child to the husband could legally divorce her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could legally divorce her on the grounds of barrenness.
Yeah.
But Elkanah did not do that. Now, if you come to Hannah, a lot of women these days, let me start from present time, when they look at 1 year, 2 years, they don't spend time. We don't give the Lord enough time to work with us, because I believe that everything that comes to us, there's something that God wants us to learn.
Yeah.
We don't give enough time, and the next thing is that, it's either we want to, go and do this or run to do that. We try to help the Lord, to give us a child. In the custom of the time they lived, if a woman did not have a child, she was actually obligated to take one of her female servants and give to her husband as wife.
Yeah.
But Hannah did not do that. Instead, she focused on the Lord to bless her with a child. So you can see these two support, and not trying to run ahead of the Lord. It helped this couple. It showed the love between this couple, which was very important. Also, when it comes to the vow, there's something I want to bring out here. Hannah was bitter, she was angry, and then she was taunted by her mate, and then they would be whining and dining, but Hannah left in her anguish and went to the Lord bitterly. And in that her state of bitterness, she couldn't have discussed, she poured out her soul to the Lord.
Yeah.
So she didn't discuss with Elkanah, if God, should I promise God to give him back this child? There was no time. She just spilled her soul to the Lord. So she didn't discuss it with her husband, Elkanah, that vow, because it was a vow.
Yes.
That vow she made to the Lord, she didn't discuss it.
Yeah. She made from her heart.
She made it from her heart. She didn't discuss it. And, I don't know, much later, somewhere, there was nowhere in the Bible that when she came out, they just said she left joyful, even after Eli prayed for her.
Yes.
They didn't tell us where she went to her. See what I have done. No. I have said, God, if you give me a child, I will give it back to you. She must have told her husband at some point. But what I want to bring out here is that Elkanah could have overridden that promise.
Yeah. He could have, yes.
Elkanah could have. And Hannah will go scot-free before the Lord. You say, how do I know? It's in the Bible. Let's look at Numbers chapter 20, from verse 10. The book of Numbers. The laws of Moses that he gave to the tribes of Israel concerning vows. In verse 10 he said, but suppose, let's see 9. If, however, a woman is a widow or divorced, she must fulfill all her vows and her pledges. So that, remember, widow or divorced, there's no covering of a man. But suppose a woman is married and living in her husband's home, when she makes a vow or binds herself with a pledge, if her husband hears of it and does not object to it, her vow or pledge will stand.
Yeah.
But if her husband refuses to accept it on the day he hears of it, her vow or pledge will be nullified and the Lord will forgive her. So Hannah could have said, my husband, I'm sure my husband will not agree, so I'm just doing this so that God would, But despite the fact that Elkanah had that legal binding under the law of Moses, that he could have said, no, I'm not sending this boy out. I'm not, maybe I love him too much. We saw the case of Joseph and we saw the case of Benjamin.
Yeah.
Children from a wife that the husband loves so much.
Yeah.
Okay? He could have said, I love them so much, even though I have other sons. I love them so much. I'm not going to let them out of my eyes. He did not he did not cancel that vow. Rather, he affirmed it when Hannah said, "Wait till the boy is weaned."
Yes.
And not just that he affirmed it, he supported it and went ahead to pray for her, because he knows that as children are growing and getting attached to their mother, things could be happening.
Yeah.
That she might say, God, am I sure I can let go of this boy? Rather, her husband prayed for her, may the Lord help you to keep your promise.
Yes, yes.
So, what am I trying to bring out here? That husbands, wives, well, in this case is husband, because the Bible never told us that when a man makes a vow, the wife can annul it, can nullify it. But it's the other way around.
Yeah.
So husband, sometimes when your wife tells you, honey, I came back from church today to see what I have done. If they are like me, under the anointing, I can, whatever the Holy Spirit tells me is what I do. I make that pledge, and I pray that, and God is gracious, is giving me a husband that does not, he affirms that which he knows I have done under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. But you can imagine what would have happened if the husband had nullified that vow.
Yeah.
The world would be without a Samuel.
Yes.
And all the blessings that came for the children of Israel from Samuel, not just to the couple.
Yeah.
So when a vow comes through the wife, or a pledge, when your wife comes and says, I have pledged the car, I have pledged the television set, I have pledged the computer, I have pledged this money, just go in and seek the face of the Lord. Try to affirm and support her, because the Lord has a blessing for the family coming through that.
Yes.
That's just what I want to bring out here.
Yes, that is very good, and it is the relationship, the way that Hannah and Elkanah lived. The fact that they loved each other so much, they trusted each other, and she knew that she had her husband's support. Of course, she wouldn't go and abuse that trust, because she loved her husband, she respected her husband, she cared for her husband, and they lived together, so they knew the kind of things they would do. So when she made a vow from her heart, she had no doubt that her husband would support her, and that happened. Her husband supported her, and yes, because she made the vow, and because her husband supported her, they had a child called Samuel that we all know and learn a lot from today. And of course, that was a tremendous blessing, not only to the couple, but to the whole of Israel and the whole of mankind. Well, we thank you for joining us in this study, very short Bible study, but really focused on understanding the interactions between Hannah and Elkanah, and how that helped them in their life and led to the blessing that is a child called Samuel. We thank you for joining us, and we pray that you will learn from our Bible study series, which you can always find at our website, bankingblessing.org. All that we've done in the past and all that we will do in the future will be available through that website. We pray that you learn something that will make a positive impact on your life and will bring you closer to God's purpose for your life. Thank you, and God bless you.
God bless you.